the Ten Commandments and the Golden Calf, Covenant and Rebellion at Mount Sinai. For Israel, the dramatic events that take place at Mount Sinai in the book of Exodus constitute a pivotal period in the establishment of both their spiritual identity and their national identity. The Israelites are brought by Moses across the wilderness to Mount Sinai, where they are to receive the law of God and enter into a covenant that would define them as a people chosen for a unique purpose. This occurs after the Israelites had been freed from slavery in Egypt. The people are given the instruction to purify themselves as soon as they get at the base of the mountain. This is because they are going to have an encounter with the divine that is both unparalleled and awe-inspiring. Thunder and lightning, a dense cloud, smoke that billows like smoke from a furnace, and the booming sound of a trumpet that gets louder and louder are all signs that God is making his descent on Mount Sinai. There is a tremendous amount of panic among the inhabitants, and the mountain is shaking fiercely. This is where God addresses the people of Israel directly, amidst the great theophany that is taking place. The next thing that happens is the transmission of the Ten Commandments, which is a condensed yet deep articulation of the moral system that God has established. In the beginning of these commandments, they make a pledge of their unwavering allegiance to the one and only God who delivered them from the slavery in Egypt. The practice of idolatry is rigorously prohibited, as is the improper use of the name of God. In order to show respect for both the act of creation and the emancipation from slavery, the Sabbath is a day of holy rest that is to be maintained. Honoring one's parents, protecting life, maintaining marital fidelity, respecting property, being truthful, and being content with one's own belongings are some of the commandments that are established in order to establish the foundation for a just society. The essence of the covenant that God made with Israel can be summed up in these 10 words, as they are sometimes referred to. As a result of the terrifying sound of God's voice, the people implore Moses to act as their medium of communication. Moses makes another ascent of the mountain, and while he is there, he receives additional instructions for arranging the society around the presence of God. These instructions are given to him over the course of 40 days and nights. The configuration of the tabernacle, which will serve as the holy dwelling place for God to reside among his people, is revealed by God. The Ark of the Covenant, the altar, the robes worn by the priests, and the different offerings and feasts that will constitute the spiritual rhythm of Israel's life are all described in great detail in the instructions. The purpose of these instructions is not only to perform rituals, rather, they are intended to foster reverence and serve as a constant reminder of the proximity and spiritual sanctity of God. In spite of this, a distinct story is taking place at the foot of the mountain while Moses is on top of it. During his extended absence, the populace get increasingly restless. As a result of their sense of abandonment, they demand that Aaron, Moses' brother, create gods that can be seen and touched before them. Aaron makes a catastrophic error in judgment when he decides to create a golden calf out of the gold that is found in the earrings of the people. A blasphemous proclamation is put with this idol, which reads, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." It is announced that there will be a feast, and the people immediately begin to celebrate, which swiftly devolves into immoral activity. The precise commands that God had just stated are disregarded as they revert to a type of idolatry that they had most likely witnessed in Egypt. This is a grotesque inversion of the covenantal worship that they had been practicing. While Moses is on the mountain, God tells him about the rebellion that has taken place, showing his indignation and indicating that he is prepared to annihilate the people and start over with Moses. On the other hand, Moses, demonstrating intense compassion and bravery, makes a request for mercy. At the same time as he is appealing to God's reputation among the nations, he reminds God of the promises that he made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. As a result of this petition, God changes his mind about carrying out his plan to completely destroy everything. In the process of descending the mountain with the stone tablets that were written by God himself, Moses is able to personally witness the magnitude of the sin. As a representation of the broken covenant, he shatters the tablets that are located at the base of the mountain in a fit of righteous rage. In order to teach the Israelites a painful lesson about the repercussions of their betrayal, he then destroys the golden calf, crushes it into a powder, sprinkles it over water, and forces them to drink it. Aaron is confronted by him, and Aaron has only feeble explanations for his inability to lead faithfully. Moses then commands those individuals who continue to be faithful to God. The tribe of Levi responds to the call, and in a demonstration of terrible judgment, around 3,000 individuals who worship idols are put to death. The following day, Moses goes back to God and makes an offer to take on the responsibility of the people's sins. He even asks to be removed from the record of God's pardon if it is not possible to forgive them. But in response, God says that the only people who will be punished are those who have sinned. In spite of this, he assures them that he would send his angel to guide them, even if he will not personally reside among them because of their intransigence. The news causes the people a great deal of pain, and they are in mourning. Furthermore, Moses does not give up. He persists in pleading with God, supplicating not only for pardon, but also for the return of God's presence among them. God's response is a reaffirmation of the favor that he always accords. Moses makes a request to be able to view the glory of God, and although he is not allowed to see God's face, he is allowed to see a glimpse of God's back. This is a figurative depiction of experiencing God's presence in a restricted manner. During this particular moment, God displays his name and character, proclaiming that he is kind and gracious, slow to anger, abundant in unwavering love and fidelity, and just in holding individuals accountable for their sins against themselves and others. Moses is given instructions by God to carve 2 new tablets, and the covenant is written for the second time on each of them. Even if the covenant is reestablished, the memory of the revolt continues to linger. Moses' face shines with the reflected glory of God when he returns from this second meeting. This is a visual proof that he has come into communion with the divine. Because of the brilliant nature of his looks, he is required to wear a veil whenever he addresses the people. This account of the covenant and rebellion that took place at Mount Sinai highlights the conflict that exists between the holiness of God and the frailty of humans. The offering of the law is a gift. It is a revelation of the will of God and a summons to live in a manner that reflects the justice and mercy of God. However, the story of the golden calf sheds light on the human propensity for idolatry, impatience, and disobedience from a biblical perspective. Nevertheless, God's reaction is not only judgment, but also forgiveness and rebuilding of the relationship. The covenant is reestablished as a result of Moses' pleading, and the presence of God continues to be present among his people. The occurrences that took place on Mount Sinai are not merely historical happenings. In the context of the biblical tradition, they constitute a theological framework for comprehending elements such as sin, grace, law, leadership, and worship. The authors encourage readers to contemplate their own devotion to God, the temptations of seeking out false sources of security, and the unflinching mercy of a God who longs to dwell with his people in spite of the fact that they have failed. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel